First of all, I got rid of the black bars, got a bigger camera, better aspect ratio. Now I don't have to worry about that. Thank you for noticing. Second of all, I didn't post about the last chapter or any of the chapters where Takaba was fighting. Again, thank you for noticing. And if you didn't, well, you have to consider the fact that it was kind of, I was gonna say boring, but it wasn't boring as much as the fact that there's not much to say, right? Takaba's ability is not broken, not at least not as broken as we thought. Yeah, yes, he can beat the likes of Gojo in the sense that Gojo's abilities wouldn't matter because he can do whatever, right? As long as he finds it funny, it'll happen, right? We saw him get rid of a special grade curse from Kenjaku he summoned, right? But then again, he can't kill people, right? So it's not like he's not gonna win against anybody in the sense that we need them dead, right? And so that's why they sent my boy Yuta Okotsu, right? So he came in afterwards after Kenjaku snapped out of it. Yuta came in, cut his head off. Perfect. And always remember, put respect on Yuta's name, right? I hear a lot of people talking about like, oh, he's weak. If you were to 1v1 Kenjaku, he's a fraud. Bro, they call him the sneakiest, whatever. Bro, Toji literally did the same thing. Nobody said anything about him. So I don't see what the problem is. Plus, this is Jujutsu sorcery, right? This is Jump Jutsu Kaisen, right? So it's never even a 1v1, typically. Anyway, that's besides the point, because you have to remember that when Kenjaku fought Choso, Tsukumo, and Tengen, people like to mention that, first of all, Choso did nothing to the fight except to display Kenjaku's other curse technique, right? Get him to use it. Tengen, on the other hand, was there only to disassemble the barriers and whatnot. And Tsukumo was the real star. She was doing great, okay? She got rid of the special grade curse that Kenjaku summoned, as well as the fact that Kenjaku himself was like, damn, I can't really deal with her. She's got the range, she can fight, she's this and that. It wasn't until he pulled out his domain, right? And that's where the discrepancy between the level of sorcerer comes into play. Because even though Kenjaku has the better domain, the barrierless domain, they mentioned how maybe Tsukumo, if she had opened her own domain, she would have done better. Plus, if we see that Yuta was comfortable using his domain against two other people at the same time and very confident that he would win, he should be fine, right? Also, even if it's just enough to survive, right? Even if it's just enough just to survive it being destroyed by the gravity from outside, he also has Rika with him, right? So the curse techniques would cancel out. And as we've seen with the last chapter, he's hella fast, okay? He'll blitz Kenjaku. So I don't see what the problem is. Should have Sukuma done it? I don't think Sukuma's as durable as Yuta though, right? And that's mostly because of Yuta's cursed energy reserves that are enormous. They almost think it's infinite until he actually fully manifests Rika, in which case it literally becomes infinite, right? Because he takes Ishigori's like the head cannon, the granite blast directly to his whole body. He also stops it with one hand, so does Rika and all this. And they're full power blast and he survives it. Right? So the mini Uzumaki to the stomach or anything else, I feel like wouldn't do much. Now, I think they hit Sukuma with one in the face and she kind of survived that one. But the one in the stomach, that completely helped cut her in half when the gravity came in. But I think, one, Yuta's faster. Two, he has his sword, right? And he'll figure out the curse technique of the gravity as well, just like Tsukumo did. And also, he seems to be the better fighter, right? Because when he was fighting Yuji, he tells him, you're focused too much on my sword. And then he kicks him. Right? Sukuma was too focused on the gravity and all that, and she was injured as well, so she can't heal as good or as well as fast as Yuta, right? Because she got her arm mangled and she kept fighting, but she couldn't fight full 100% until Choso came in and she could finally heal it. Yuta, on the other hand, he's healing as he goes, right? Because of the amount of curse energy he has. So he would be healed. He wouldn't have to worry about any of the gravity. He probably survived the gravity just off of reinforcement alone. He could survive the Uzumaki because he survived the highest output blast of any character in the Culling games, or any character at all, because no one else has that specific curse technique. Because even after using domain and it being burnt out, his curse technique, Ishigori was still able to do pretty close to maximum output for his blast. All in all, Yuta probably could 1v1 Kenjaku anyway. The only problem, and here's the thing, because they didn't even mention how Tsukumo lost, because at the end when the fight was going on with Sukuna, and he opened up his domain without the barrier, everyone was shook. They're like, this is a divine technique. This shouldn't be possible. Which tells me that Choso didn't tell them about Kenjaku's open domain. Which means he didn't say that's how Tsukumo got beat. Which is why Maki might be able to say that, Yuta probably would lose, right? So he loses if his domain does nothing. But then again, even Gojo's domain against Sukuna's open domain not only survived for a bit, but also simply canceled out the curse technique, right? They were equal. And since Kenjaku isn't as strong as Sukuna and Gojo, and Yuta isn't as strong as them, it could be, close, second to none, except for Gojo, for Yuta's case. In Yuta's case, the odds of now Kenjaku and Yuta's being at the same level and then canceling out, very likely, right? So, again, people who were like, oh, this is the only way that Yuta could have won. It's because I don't think they had the full picture. Like, they prepared for months, yet it seems like they didn't plan well enough, right? They didn't tell Gojo that he had open domain, this and that, and it was just, I don't know. Anyway, that's not this chapter. This chapter, we finally go back to the original fight between, or the fight where Itadori and Higuruma jump in, right? To go against Sukuna. Maybe distracts him, and they catch him in the domain, right? Obviously, this is what Higuruma can, basically the only thing that can make him worth throwing into the fight, right? Is his curse technique. Whether he can confiscate or give the death penalty to Sukuna, that's where speculation comes in, right? Of course, we have to remember that Itadori came up with the idea that, speaking of Itadori, apparently he was talking to Noritoshi Kamo about being taught curse techniques. So a lot of people, and myself included, I guess, are probably thinking that he knows blood manipulation of some kind. Because that's the only thing that Noritoshi Kamo knows. And also because he said Choso's a bad teacher, right? So he can't teach him the rest. But considering the fact that his brothers and Choso and Noritoshi Kamo are all from the same clan, that probably just means it doesn't have to be blood manipulation. Because one, Choso already has that. So I don't think there was another brother that had it, especially because Choso's the oldest. So I feel like it's just the fact that Noritoshi Kamo, not Kenjaku, but the other Noritoshi Kamo, right, would know about all the abilities of the family, of the Kamo family, or the Kamo clan, right? So anything else that the brothers will probably have, because, that's when Kenjaku was in Noritoshi Kamo's body, when he made Choso and all the other Death Wound paintings, they would all be abilities from the Kamo clan. Because, yes, they have blood piercing or blood manipulation, but that doesn't have to be all of it. Because we know the Zenin clan has the 10 shadows. It had the manipulation, like the time frames, whatever. Maki's dad had the, I don't like the fire sword, whatever it was. He died anyway. There's the other clan members and stuff like that. So it doesn't have to only be blood manipulation. And we know that in the clan itself, especially since Noritoshi Kamo was supposed to be the head of the clan eventually, he would know about all the other abilities in the clan and like the history of all the people who were before him, right? So it doesn't have to be blood manipulation, but he definitely has some sort of curse techniques from the clan, especially because we see him with the weird hands and stuff, and when he hits Sukuna, there's like the weird like effects of him like feeling it, and he's like, what was that, right? So there's that as well. Either way, Itadori came up with a plan of retrial of the murders in Shibuya, and that's kind of where it leaves on a cliffhanger, where Higuruma's like the real culprit of the Shibuya incident, of all the mass murder and everything is, and then that's where it ends, right? Also, break next week, or technically this week, so we won't know until next time. But obviously it's gonna be like, oh, it was Sukuna, he was the one taking control over Yuji's body and all that. But will he get the death penalty, or what's gonna happen? Because no one has said that Sukuna can open up his domain, which I don't see why he wouldn't be able to, right? He's in a domain, he's caught in one right now, but why wouldn't he be able to open up his own? It's like when Gojo fought Jogo, right? Jogo. Anyway, he opened up his domain, then Gojo opened his on top of Jogo's, right? So why wouldn't Sukuna see? And that's another thing, right? Okay, I just remembered somehow that Sukuna doesn't have his domain, right? But that's Malevolent Shrine. Who's to say that he can't use the Chimera Shadow Garden, right? Which is Megumi's, which also is like, can we charge the soul directly of Sukuna? But if he gets the Executioner's Blade and he kills Sukuna in Megumi's body, does that take the body with it, or does it kill the soul of Sukuna and leave the body intact? But the soul has been manipulated, which is the body. They're kind of combined, because even Angel's like, if I remove the soul or the cursed object from the body might die as well, because it's forcefully removing the curse technique from the brain and all that. So it's not only the fact that can he get the execution, Nurse Blade, can he get the death penalty, but also can Sukuna just open up his own domain to combat it? Does the curse technique that's removed or anything that happens affect Megumi, his body? And also, even if they get it, do you really think that they can land the blow, right? Because obviously they can land blows, but if he realizes that it's the executioner's blade, because I think even Yuji knew, like, if it touches him, he'll die. Or I don't know if they mentioned, if Huaruma says, like, this is the executioner's blade, whatever. But then again, Judgment does say it's a death penalty. So I feel like there's also the chance that he might not even get touched by the executioner blade. But Higuruma's a pretty good fighter. Yuji's there too. Can he pass it to Yuji? That's another thing. If he's not the person in question sentenced to death, can he be given the sword as well, right? Or are they gonna call him guilty, but it's also Yuji's fault? Because again, Judgment isn't doing by like real laws, or else they'd stack all the crimes together, in which case they don't have to worry about it. But it's going one by one. And also, can they argue that Judgment can say, since Yuji was responsible, because he accepted his responsibility of housing Sukuna and himself, that he is responsible for Sukuna's actions, right? And so they're both, I guess, like, the main murder and an accessory to murder. That's a possibility as well. But either way, there's quite a few options for what might happen. He might not even do it. It might not do death penalty. It might just do confiscation. If it confiscates, which one is it? Does it take 10 shadows, or does it take the cleave and dismantle? If it takes the 10 shadows, it's good, but at the same time, the cleave and dismantle is a one shot for most, if not all, characters, right? So it's got to take that one. But if it takes that one, he still has 10 shadows, which it doesn't have Maharaga. It doesn't have the fused Agito, right? It doesn't have most of the Shikigami, but at the same time, it's still most of the 10 shadows. Plus, all of them that die end up fusing with the rest, so it's still going to be a competition, right? There's still going to be a fight. But mostly what I wanted to talk about was Yuta and his ability against Kenjaku and all that, because realistically, there's no way to know what might happen, right? Because also, Yuta has to come back from killing Kenjaku, right? Obviously, we saw the end where Kenjaku was like, my will be inherited. Which, and I remember, considering the fact that he made the cursed wound paintings, perhaps, also they mentioned how Yuji is the eye of the storm. He has plans for him still. He lied to Cho, so he's like, no, actually, he's still relevant and all that. So perhaps there's some sort of binding vow, or simply part of the fact that he was the one to make the cursed wound paintings, that he can take control of Yuji. So it would be Yuji and Sukuna together eventually to fight everyone else. Also, people mention how we might still have to see the merger, but they don't know that the merger will only happen if Kenjaku and Sukuna are the ones left alive, because Kusakabe mentions that in the case of a merger, probably the sorcerers won't be forced into fusion because they can reject it, but they're under the assumption that he can start the merger at any time, but it can only start, or he'll only start it, because I think that the condition was the Culling Game ends when only Sukuna and Kenjaku are left alive, and then he'll do the merger. But can he do it before? Because he said he wanted it to be over before he did the merger, but then everyone would be dead, so it wouldn't really matter, right? So I think he can do it before everyone dies, and then it'll be that thing, whatever gets made, unless Takaba thinks it's funny and becomes that little masked one, right? So either that's what he means by my will will be inherited, and he makes the cursed fused thing, and that fights with Sukuna, I guess, or against, because again, there's that binding vow that Sukuna had with Kenjaku. We don't know what it was. We don't know if it's realistically to help or benefit the merger, or we don't know. I was gonna mention how Gojo might be alive, but as it stands, he doesn't seem to be coming back anytime soon, if at all. I mean, that's really it. There's not much to say. Not much happened, you know. Right when the trial was about to begin, it ended. There's a break next week, or this week, so we won't get a new chapter until next week. So there's that. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you had any ideas, theories, or anything, feel free to put them in the comments below. But outside of that, I'll make sure to keep making it, especially now that the main fight, is getting back underway. So again, thank you for watching. Like it if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to hear the rest of my theories or reviews of whatever is going to happen. And thanks for watching.